Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Drunk Bible Study Bonus Edition. We are here talking about the Queen of Sheba and Solomon's death and a bunch of other stuff. So let me start off with that there queen. She is a lady that's, like, in a bunch of different artworks and what, like... you said Handel made a song out of her?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Handel pieces. It's just the Queen of Sheba. Actually, if you listen to it, you'd probably recognize it.
Probably.
Now, when you were looking into this, did you, like, is she referenced other places too? Like, she's not only a character here. Okay, got it.
That's what I looked into.
Got it.
Okay. So she's in Arabic and Ethiopian writings. Jewish and Islamic traditions, and then, so she is the ruler of the kingdom of Saba or Sheba in southwestern Arabia. In the biblical account of the reign of King Solomon, she visited his court at the head of a camel caravan bearing gold, jewels, and spices.
We were there. We remember.
All of that. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So there's this thing called the story of Bilqis. And what is that? That's Arabic. So the story of Bilqis, the Queen of Sheba, is known in Islamic traditions, and she appears in the Quran, though she is not mentioned by name, and her story has been embellished by Muslim commentators. The Arabs have also given Bilqis a southern Arabian genealogy, and she is the subject of widespread cycle of legends. According to one account, Solomon, having heard from a what's that? Hoopoe. Hoopoe, one of his birds.
That was a bird.
It's a
yes,
bird.
We encountered this before.
Okay.
We encountered it before because
okay.
it was on the list of either you can eat it or you can't eat it. I forget.
Okay.
It's been acknowledged in the Bible.
So, one of the birds that Bilqis and her kingdom worshipped the sun and sent a letter asking her to worship God. She replied by sending him gifts, but when Solomon proved unreceptive to them, she came to his court herself. The king's jinn? I don't know, Jinn? Oh, is that like...
Like a genie.
Yeah.
I was like, is that his genie?
Yeah.
The king's jinn, meanwhile, fearing that the king might be tempted into marrying Bilqis, whispered to him that she had hairy legs and the hooves of an ass.
What?
Hold
on.
Yeah, I know.
What?
Okay, by hairy legs, I'm hoping they mean... if it's also combined with hooves of an ass, that must mean he also has like an ass's legs.
I guess.
Not just she hasn't shaved in a while.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
some kind
did they even shave back then? Come on.
She's some kind of a satyr or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so, Solomon, being curious about such a peculiar phenomenon, had a glass floor built before his throne so that Bilqis, tricked into thinking it was water, raised her skirts to cross it and revealed that her legs were truly hairy. Solomon
so she was actually... What?
Well, listen to this. Listen to this. Solomon then ordered that the jinn create a depilatory for the queen. So, like some nair. She got some nair up in there.
Hold on. This is bonkers. Where is this story from?
In Islamic tradition.
Like Islamic commentary?
I guess, yeah.
Wow.
I mean...
Okay, so the jinn needed to create the snare for her.
No, I just love that in this story, Solomon, being very, very wise, comes up with this litmus test for getting her to reveal her legs. And he sees that her legs are hairy. He's not like, ugh, no way. He's like, that's okay, baby. We'll just,
we can make this work.
We'll just wax
figure it out. Yeah. So tradition does not agree as to whether Solomon himself married Bilqis or gave her a marriage to a Hamdani tribesman. She did, however, become a believer. Well.
Okay, great. Good.
Wow.
Okay,
so,
great.
There's one more story.
I just have to say, this story is so much better than the one that we read. Why couldn't we have read this story?
I agree. So, one more. The Queen of Sheba appears as a prominent figure in Kebra Nagast, Glory of King, the Ethiopian national epic and foundation story. According to this tradition, the Queen of Sheba, called Makeda, visited Solomon's court after hearing about his wisdom. She stayed and learned from him for 6 months. On the last night of her visit, he tricked her into his bed and she became pregnant. She returned to her kingdom where she bore Solomon a son, Menelek. Menelek was made a king by his father, thus founding the royal Solomonic dynasty of Ethiopia, which ruled until the deposition of Haile Selassie I in 1974.
Wait,
Wow.
what?
Whoa.
Wow.
Right. So that's part of their origin story of their ruling line, was that it was from Solomon tricking her into his bed. Don't have any details about that, but tricking her into his bed.
But she's also appears among the Persians, probably derived from Jewish tradition, where she is considered a daughter of a Chinese king and a peri. I don't know what a peri is.
Wow, so she's like
P-E-R-I.
There's sort of
she's all
her
over
own
the place.
mythology. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
Awesome.
I mean, that leads me to believe, like, well, I don't know, with these things where there's just like so many stories and so many points of reference, and she shows up in different cultures and traditions, it's like either she was clearly fake, clearly like larger than life, that one, but fictional creature or person, or she was clearly real and made enough of an impression on so many different people and cultures that then her story was taken and dispersed and diffused and Wow.
Yep. That's amazing. Yeah, seriously. Okay, so one of the things that I looked into was about the ships. I knew I needed to look into the Tarshish, I think is what it was called when we read about it. But in the message, they called it an ocean-faring ship. So I was like, tell me more about that. Like, when did we start having ships that could travel in the ocean and not just on rivers and seas and things like that? And the reason why I knew that was a thing was because of playing Civilization, the game, the computer game. And in Civilization, at first, your ships can only travel along the shores until you reach a certain point in your technology. Then you can actually sail out into the sea. So it turns out that point in Civilization is right around the time we are now in our story.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah. So the Austronesians, which is a cool name for a people's, were the first humans to invent ocean-going sailing technologies, specifically the catamaran, the outrigger ship, the tanja sail, I don't know what that one is, and the crab claw sail. I'm assuming these are just types of sail designs that allows you to control your ship out in the ocean.
Crab claw.
Yeah, it's a pretty good name. So the Austronesians, this is interesting too. So the Austronesians are a people united by speaking the same language, but not necessarily living in the same place. So this is a large group of people from Taiwan, Southeast Asia, Oceania, like modern day Australia, Madagascar, but they all spoke this Austronesian language, which is one of those.
So kind of like a proto
exactly
common language.
Exactly. Yeah. And that they built these ocean-faring vessels that started around 3000 BC. And in our story we're reading now, we're in the 900s. And they started what's called the Austronesian expansion from 3000 to around 1500 BC, which was mostly kind of more throughout Asia and like a little bit toward Africa. And so that sort of technology and moving didn't get toward the Middle East until later, more around 1000 BC, which would be right around this time, right?
Where the technology would have spread that far.
Exactly.
And when civilization is having it happen in your game too.
Well, yeah, I don't remember when it happens in the game, but yeah. And that what I found was interesting too is that prior to the colonial era, when Europeans colonized all of the world, the Austronesians were the most widespread ethno-linguistic group in the world. Because they developed this technology and were able to spread all over the place.
Around.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, super interesting.
Well, I looked up Milcom, the Ammonite god, and
Milcom in the middle.
Milcom in the middle turns out is actually Molech in the middle.
What? Really?
Yeah, just another word for Molech.
Sneaky.
But I thought that they talked about Molech too.
They did, but I learned that Molech is also known as Moloch, Milcom, Milkim, Malcolm, Malak. The meaning of it, the word means king. And so probably based on the particular dialect, particular language, it just kind of shifted a little bit. So yeah, Milcom is also Moloch.
So in what we read, the fact that it mentioned Molech and Milcom separately.
And Milcom, yeah.
It must have just been referencing the two different cultures and the way that they...
Yeah, two different cultures. Maybe they worshipped a slightly different version. One of them eats babies and one of them eats slightly older children. I don't know.
Celery. Wow. The other one's really into celery. Totally different.
Molcom in the middle is much more docile.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, we each looked up two things, and the other thing that I looked up today was apes.
Now, how?
Yeah,
did you actually find anything for this?
What was your search term? I want to know.
Well, I looked up, did Solomon have apes? Or something like that.
Good.
Like, what were Solomon's apes? Yeah. Okay, so yes, this is a fascinating... Okay, I found it on christiananswers.net.
I'm already in.
Yeah.
Okay, love it.
Yeah, here we go. So, okay, this is the only reference in the Bible to apes, and scholars are uncertain whether the apes were true apes or perhaps monkeys or baboons. But why would Solomon go to such expense to import apes instead of more useful animals? He had a great number of fine horses, for example. Did he maintain a zoo? He imported ivory, so why not elephants? Could it possibly be that the king or some of his scholars were interested in studying possible ape-human relationships?
What? Hold on. Okay, hold on.
Hey, this is BibleAnswers.net, okay?
Like
BibleAnswers.net, nobody asked that question.
Well, it says, we don't have any evidence of such investigations or speculations, of course, but the Bible does indicate the wide-ranging extent of Solomon's scientific and religious interests. It does? He studied, perhaps wrote, and spake also of beasts and of fowl and of creeping things and of fishes.
Okay,
we did cover this.
Okay.
That he spoke scientifically about all sorts of things.
Okay, so it was like a research study.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why they need to take it to the place of research study on ape-human relationships.
No,
I think someone's a little weird
Emily,
over there.
did it say the word relationships? Because to me, I read that as like evolutionary relationships.
Ape-human relationships. Yeah, I
don't think they mean like dating them. I think they mean like how are we related to them because they're so similar to us.
But this is a Christian
which
website.
Is fascinating. I know.
No, I know. That's why they were non-committal with their answer.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, and it says finally, and with so many wives and concubines practicing numerous pantheistic religions, he must have heard of such evolutionary beliefs in other lands.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Even Solomon understood that evolution was a thing.
Wait a minute. No. At the bottom, this says evidence for creation. Wait.
What?
What?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm throwing this in the garbage. Even this person doesn't know what they're talking about. They're applying modern day debate about creationism and evolution being taught in schools to like this time back then, and I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
All right.
I want to know about apes.
Well, that's what I found, Dedeker. I'm sorry. I hope that I gave you a fun time.
I loved it. I had a good time. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Jace. Good.
Okay. My second thing that I looked up was about the wives and concubines of Solomon. Did he really have 1,000 of them? And pretty much all the answers are like, that's what it says. But what's interesting...
It's the Bible. It doesn't lie.
Yeah.
Okay.
What came out of looking into this, though, is, first of all, the fact that only 2 of them get names, which is even fewer than David's wives. Only 2 get names.
Who?
There's Pharaoh's daughter, who I guess doesn't even really have a name.
It was like, no, she doesn't. Pharaoh's daughter.
Like, she gets a credit. She gets a title in the credits, but
exactly.
not a name.
Who's identified is Pharaoh's daughter, and then Naamah, who is the one who ended up being the mother of Rehoboam, who we just talked about now. And other than that, that's it. But what was interesting is that then it goes on, like all the stuff talking about his wives was more about him, that corrupting him and leading him away from Yahweh. Yeah. And so this thing of the story of Solomon falling into idolatry by the influence of Pharaoh's daughter and his other wives is generally viewed as the handiwork of the Deuteronomistic historians, which we kind of alluded to in the episode, who are believed to have written, compiled, and edited a lot of the texts that make up a lot of this. And that what's interesting, though, is that I looked into this, so the Deuteronomists were in 600 BC. So another 400
Quite a
years
ways
or so.
later.
Yeah. But that King Josiah did a lot of religious and political reforms, which was, and we'll get to this, so I don't want to get into it too much. This will be in the Book of Chronicles. We're going to get to King Josiah.
Is that after this?
It's the ways
after Kings 2.
Yeah, it's after Chronicles. I mean, sorry, it's after Kings. Yeah, it's next.
Yeah,
it's the next pair.
Chronicles of Narnia 1 and 2.
We'll get to him eventually. But anyway, the idea is that he did a lot of reforms, and that the Deuteronomists added a lot of this content to sort of explain why everything was so fractured amongst the tribes at that time. And it's it's because Solomon had all these wives and he was obsessed with women, and just that'll only do your downfall. So yeah,
women.
That's what I found.
Story. Yeah. Okay. Well, the last thing I looked up was that verse. My little finger is thicker than my father's loins. And so first I looked to just see a compendium of what are all the different ways this has been translated in so many different versions of the Bible. And most of them translate it as, loins, my father's waist, my father's trunk, my father's back. There was one that was my little finger is bigger than my father's whole body, which I thought was funny.
I doubt that somehow, but okay.
So that's the way it's been translated. But when you actually go a little bit deeper to be what was the actual Hebrew, stuff like that pretty much all translators are it was a dick. It was a dick reference.
Cool.
Let's not dance around that.
Let's not beat around the bush.
We can't beat around that bush by any means. It was... and it would make sense because it was the advice from his friends, these young men obsessed with their dicks. These young ruffians that,
Yeah,
and
all they're thinking about are penile things.
Yeah, someone even made the connection of, he's saying, my little finger is bigger than my father's dick. And remember, my father was the person who had 1,000 women.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah. Yep.
But what he was actually doing with them, nobody knows.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe he was gifting a monkey to everybody.
I guess. I mean,
1,000 monkeys? Maybe a peacock. Maybe a monkey for you, a peacock for you.
Yeah. I'm just trying to...
Was he maintaining a zoo? I loved that.
Yeah. It's just so wild, though, to think about the acquiring of these wives and concubines over the course
of... political, right?
No, but I'm just thinking about
years.
the rate at which you have to be acquiring them, right? So
40 divided by 1,000.
1,000 divided by 40.
Divided by 40.
Yeah. What did you got?
It's a lot.
Did you do that?
Here.
Did you?
Here.
No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. That's 25 ladies per year.
Dang.
That's about 2 per month.
So you're having a wedding every 2 weeks.
So every 2 weeks.
Right.
That's wild.
You know what? I've known some people who could maintain, maybe not the wedding rate, but the hooking up rate of someone new every 2 weeks. I've known some people like that.
I've known some people like that too, but I haven't known a lot of people who could keep that up for 40 years.
40 years.
So
that's a great point. Well,
wow. All right.
Oh, boy.
That was a wild ride.
But I'm willing to bet, I think that we've read also with these political marriages that it was also possible to be she never even came and lived with him or slept with him. It was just purely a ceremonial.
Yeah.
Great alliance. Yes. Great. Whatever. Stay in your own land. Because I'm too tired for this because clearly my own, I'm not even going to go there. I'm trying to make a dick joke, and I'm running out of steam. I'm not even going to go there.
No, it's okay.
No problem.
It's okay. This is a family show. Yeah. Anyway, I've seen now lots of also historical art of this very old King Solomon groping a lot of young ladies. So there's
good.
that too.
Yuck.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Yuck.
Good.
But they all look very European, so it's doubly confusing. So there you go.
Yeah, I doubt that they looked like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, everybody.
Well, next week is going to continue on, not with Solomon. He's gone.
He's gone.
Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed it while it lasted. It's going to be Rehoboam and others, probably.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to last longer than an episode.
Rehoboam? I thought that in Westworld they said Rehoboam.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe.
Not the way that Dedeker was pronouncing it, but differently. So,
okay.
It's fine, Dedeker. Nice try. Anyways, we will see you all for the continuation of First Kings next week.